Hi, this is Karen at Snickerdoodle Designs. Today we're going to take a look at one of my very favorite tools in Photoshop, and that is Puppet Warp. It was introduced by Adobe in CS5, and it was pretty much the sole reason I upgraded from from CS3 to CS5 back in 2010. It has been included in all the versions since the release of CS5. I know we don't all use Photoshop. I know we don't all use versions 5, 6, or Creative Cloud, but I thought this was a interesting enough tool to take just a quick look at it today. So let's go ahead. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so we can see what we're doing. We're going to work with this bow a little bit here. This was a layout. I'm sorry I didn't credit this. This was a layout created by Cabra, a member of my creative team, and she was using my kit Chart Your Course. And let's take a look at that Chart Your Course button. Or I'm sorry, bow. Well, first of all, what does the Puppet Warp do? When we activate the Puppet Warp, Photoshop places a mesh over the selected image, which in this case will be our bow here. And we are then able to put pins, like similar to push pins, where we would like the image to remain in place, and then we put pins and move other pixels around. We can use Puppet Warp on shapes, text, smart objects, and vector masks. I see this being helpful in scrapbooking because if you did not like this part of the bow underneath the text, but liked the position of it, just wished it were over a little bit more, Puppet Warp would be the tool to use to make that slight adjustment. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. I have clicked on the bow to make it active. Come over to Edit, Puppet Warp, and when we do that, Adobe places this mesh over the bow. You also see that my cursor changed to a little push pin, and I'm going to just click with my mouse and drop those push pins wherever I want that bow to remain stationary. And that looks good. Now what I'd like to do is move the tail of this over just a little bit. So I will click here, and before I release my mouse, I'm just going to drag it over just a tad. Click the top check mark to commit. And now Adobe moves that into place for us. This was a very subtle change and not especially necessary here, but when I saw this layout I thought it would be a really good example of how to use the Puppet Warp. You need to make sure that you don't make too many large changes with Puppet Warp because the pixels will become a little distorted. So this is a great tool for small changes in the way that I showed you today. There are some other really fantastic things that Puppet Warp can do, and if you liked seeing this and want to know more about Puppet Warp, leave a comment for me and we'll take a look at what else Puppet Warp can do next week. For today, that's all we're going to look at. I hope you have fun playing with it this week, and I hope to see you next week. Thanks. Bye.